Yeah, these are all the same color.
You want us to do like.
So we're not going to get into the fancy calculations, just this is one way that we measure the output of light on a surface. So that is the actual light being emitted, and the foot candle is the amount of light that that area is receiving. So as that light source moves away from the surface we're measuring, the foot candles are going to decrease. As it moves closer, the foot candles will increase. We'll often see these on called isometric lighting plans, where a developer will say, okay, what's the impact of my lighting? How does it shine? And we'll see these numbers shift throughout the lighting plan, very high around the light source, and hopefully to the edge of the property lines, very low. That's the goal. And we'll get more to that. I'll usually refer to the term foot candle over lux, but if we do see some crossover, that's what that is. Fixture types. What time are we at?
You got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes. We're close. Basically, we're going to use some basic terminology. There's other terms out there for this type of stuff. We're just going to keep it simple: non-cutoff, semi-cutoff, cutoff, full cutoff. These type of fixtures direct the light to its intended purpose, right? So I'm not saying one's better than the other. They all might have a valid use, but for many circumstances, people throw in non-cutoff lights when they really don't need to be shining light up into your bedroom or up into the stars. Most circumstances we're going to see where cutoff or full cutoff type fixtures are actually achieving most of our goals. For
Yeah, a
all,
lot of like posts are more about decoration than functionality.
yeah, and so
They have no cutoff, most of the, I mean, you look at them like our neighborhood lights, most of the light goes up, it doesn't go down.
and so that would be a policy consideration: is how much do we focus on, the aesthetic fixture versus other goals.
Yeah.
Right. Now, some people might get, well, oh, you're going to limit me to do these cutoffs. Well, first of all, we haven't cited anything, but even if we said, well, we think new developments or something should employ mostly full cutoff or something, there's all sorts of options. We're not really limiting anybody. It's just they might have to open a catalog rather than Home Depot, but even Home Depot has several options. So, all right, that's pretty much it for definitions. I will quickly go through these slides. I can email these out to you, so you can just glance through these photos. These are just random places. Here's pretty close to here, I think behind Smith's. We can see very different color temperatures. You can see how there's a lot of glare coming into our eyes, and this is spilling over into residential areas because we don't have cutoff fixtures. This is a nearby bank. We'll spend more time on these slides next time. I'm just going to quickly blow through them.
Is that key bank?
It's just right.
It's good service.
just a couple blocks.
Crazy behind Old Shopko.
Yeah.
Jason,
Yeah, correct.
I'll go through the pros and cons, there's pros and cons in each of these, they're not necessarily all bad, okay? So we'll go through those next time, but, be looking around the city for, things you think are working well, things that are not working so well, now that you have sort of this basic terminology in your head. Actually, I thought it was a pretty decent example overall. This is one of our very,
That's actually,
I try not to label anything until the meeting. That's
It's right there.
Oh, there you go. The picture did it for you.
complaint for sure.
One thing I don't really think, I think it's a separate discussion, but if you want to get into like electronic signage, lighting stuff, that's, I think, a separate sort of issue. We can certainly address it, but it sort of goes beyond what I'm trying to do with this. Now, this one's interesting. You see these ones on the back wall, these are actually not bad. So we don't have that glare in our eyes.
Yeah.
But then you see this one right here. Somebody threw this one up later, I think, because they were worried about security or something. But it's overdoing its job. It's doing more than it needs to do.
Those ones for next.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're done. The rest of a few more examples, and we'll get into the details next time.
yeah, please email it out to us, and yes, let's continue that conversation. Thank you.
You think light could be so comprehensively.
All right, so meetings, and we've talked about meetings before, and meeting, as we run them, it doesn't actually start until a quorum's present. So even if it's 5 o'clock and we don't have a quorum, and which for planning commission, we need 4. So we'll wait till we have 4 to formally start the meeting. Then the chair runs the meeting, and you loosely follow Robert's Rules of Order. Robert Rules of Order is just a way to help you manage the meeting, because you've got lots of things that are going on, and how do we manage everything that's in front of us? And you can adopt reasonable rules. A lot of planning commissions around the state, it's allowed that you can adopt a little more detailed rules of how you go through things, and that can be helpful sometimes. But typically you also can change the rules of how you're gonna go through something. You might come up and the agenda says, there's 5 items, and the last one, looks like we got a whole bunch of people here for the last item. Let's move that and talk about it first. And so you can, change things around. So when you do a meeting, chair will call the meeting. Typically it will state the time and date and which members are present. And then the chair will read the first agenda item, because you're going to deal with items in front of you, typically one at a time. And we do run into difficult situations where sometimes you may have 2 separate items on the agenda, and that was the Sherwood. Haven. I keep wanting to say Sherwood Forest. Yeah, the Sherwood Haven. And there's really 2 very interrelated items. And so you can actually hear them both at the same time. But then when it comes time to making a motion, you need to limit it. You don't have to do it that way. That's an option. And we can talk in detail perhaps when we have a little more time about how to do that. In this meeting, Jason brought up the agenda to show what's there, and we're not going to go over the staff report. We'll talk about that in the public meeting. in detail, but this, meeting would be a perfect thing. You see the agenda, it's like, oh boy, we've got two related items. How do we want to handle this? Do we want to limit, public input? Do we want to put a timer on? How much time should we allow? Those types of things, we could discuss that in this meeting to how to procedurally handle that. So you would go in, you read the first agenda item, and then clarify the action to be taken. And one of the things that would be good is, oh, this is a legislative item. And we will be making ultimately a recommendation to the city council. And the city council will make a final decision. And it'll be a public hearing and the public will be invited to come speak. Or it may be, this is an administrative item. We will make the final decision. It does not go to the city council. It is not a public hearing. And the public will not be invited up. Now, again, you could choose to allow public comment. But you don't necessarily need to. So you clarify what's going on with the item in front of you. And then this is the time for a planning commission member to declare conflicts. You can come in and declare conflicts, and if there's a whole bunch of items and item, 10, you've got a conflict.
This console.
You may want to, as the chair is calling the meeting to order, raise your hand and chair would call on you. It's like, I've got a conflict on item 10. I just wanted to get that out. So when item 10 comes up, I'm going to recuse and leave the guys. Okay. So typically the order of the meeting is staff will give a presentation. Or staff to you. We are here to help you frame and understand what's going on. And so you'll see that tonight. You'll have the first item. We'll get up. Are you going to be presenting? Yeah, so Jason will come in and go through in detail. You can ask him questions, things like that. Then often, after that, you allow whoever the proponent is or the applicant of that item, they typically go next. And because on an item in front of you, the proponent has the burden of persuasion. Whether they're persuading you to make a recommendation on a rezone to the municipal council, or they're persuading you that, hey, this administrative project meets all codes and you should approve it. So we let them go. Then if it's a public comment, like on a rezone, you open it up to the public and allow the public to come in and make comments. Okay? Then typically, after the public makes comment, typically if there is public comment, you allow the proponent or the applicant to come up to be able to respond to any concerns or questions that were raised during the public comment period. And then you close presentations and comment. And so when you close it, it's like, okay, we don't want to hear from anybody else. It's now our turn as a commission to discuss and debate in that, you can certainly say, as we talk about this, I have a question. And the chair will call on people. Jason, what does this mean? I'm a little, it just occurred to me, I didn't realize this. Then you ask staff a question. Sometimes you'll have people in the audience who will want to yell things out. And that's not a good way of proceeding because we need to be orderly, we need to carry a good record. If we want to hear from people in the audience, you can ask a clarifying question of someone. When you do that, often somebody else in the audience, hey, you asked the applicant this, I want to, and so you've got a way, do we want to open up the meeting again to public comment? And you can, but you do not have to. So you close the comment and it's time, in that and what I've been talking about, the clarifying questions, that's all part of your discussion. And at some point, you can, it depends on the item, many items will come from you, staff closes, there's really not public comment. And it's, after you close it, rather than clarifying questions, the chair will just say,
I was
is
curious.
there a motion? You know, because it's pretty simple, straightforward issue for you. So now, what do we do with motions? That's always difficult. So typically, we make a main motion. And so when you make the main motion, I move that we recommend to the municipal council that they rezone the property. Or it's, I move that we approve the preliminary plat or on an administrative item, because you will be making the final decision. So you make a motion, it needs a second. So to go further and have discussion on that specific motion. So the earlier discussion you had was a discussion kind of a higher level, get some information if you need it. Then when it comes time for a motion, now if there's a second, well, if there's not a second, the motion dies. And the chair often asks, is there another motion? And if there's no motion that anybody wants to make, then effectively what that does is on a recommendation to the municipal council, you make no recommendation. You're not making a positive recommendation and you're really not making a negative recommendation. It just fails. Now, on recommendations on legislative items, we probably shouldn't have anything just fail. You know, just to fail and not have a motion at all is a should be a fairly rare occurrence. So if there is a second, then what happens? Somebody makes a motion, I move that X, it's seconded, the chair goes, okay, great. Gary moved that X, and we have a second. Okay, so now the motion's fully in front of you of what we're going to do. The chair opens the debate, says, okay, Gary, you made the motion. Why did you make that motion? And I go, and usually we allow the maker of the motion to go first and last, because I made the motion. And sometimes you will make a motion, and it's not inappropriate to say, I made the motion, I made it just to have discussion, I'm not going to vote for my own motion. You know, but I wanted it to frame it and just get it done. Okay, so just because you make a motion doesn't mean you have to ultimately vote for the motion. So, and then the discussion should be orderly, so I've been called on, I make my comments. Then typically the chair in some orderly fashion, you know, usually, you know, clockwise or mix it up counterclockwise, you know, from there. Go around and allow everybody an opportunity to comment on the motion. And each member is invited to speak, you do not have to. And often on a motion is second, any discussion, and it's no, and we're ready to move forward. You know, because we don't have to, no, we don't have to take that time. And so the general rule is you don't want to discuss forever. And you could. And back when we're kind of managing the meeting, we could decide on a time limit on something. But typically you don't want to allow everybody, if you want to speak more than once, you have to allow everybody who wanted to speak, then you can speak a second time. Then still allow the maker of the motion to have the last word. Then the chair calls the question. Yeah, call the question. We've had enough debate, and you vote on the main motion. And we'll leave for a future training What do you do if secondary motions pop up in the main motion? Okay, and that would be like, I move that we recommend approval. And it may be, well, in our discussion, I make a substitute motion. Oh, okay. What's your substitute motion? I make a substitute motion. Is there a second? Then we discuss that. So you've got your main motion, secondary motion may come in. You've got to resolve the secondary motion before you get back to your main motion. And it can even get more complicated, secondary motion, tertiary motion, resolve tertiary, secondary before the main motion. And with that, we'll wait till that's time.
We will adjourn and move to the May meeting and we will start implementing this and take all of us a little bit. That's why we need Gary. Take a little more.
And just remember, anything not in the microphone or not recorded. Any shouting from the audience is not recorded. So it doesn't mean anything.
But yeah, I mean, you should have that, because that's.
So somehow the audio cut out. So we're on this. Because.
It's generally.
No, I am so it's supposed to sound confident on my side.
I'll say everybody.
The pump is.
Always on the screen.
It is 4:30. Are we ready for the job site?
So the audio is off this microphone right here. So we're gonna do our best to see how it goes. 1 second.
Waiting for Gary. Started and changes.
Use it as a microphone, then use that as your mic. And then. They can hear that or not. Let's check. See if they can hear now. Okay, so at least we did this one right. Make sure you get
Jason can hear everything. Just.
Make sure you can still hear him. You're good. That sound? Okay. Good.
Okay, then I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 4:32 on February 7th, 2024. And we will begin with an invocation from Jerry.
Our Father which art in heaven, we thank thee this day for thy many blessings. We thank thee for this blessed land in which we are privileged to live. We thank thee for this city in which we are privileged to live. And we pray that thou will be with us this day as we consider the issues before us, that we might be guided, that each and every one will strive to know and do thy will, and to respectfully and peacefully make decisions here this day for our city. And these favors and blessings we ask in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll begin with item 3.1, a plat amendment vacating Lot 1 and a portion of Lot 2 of Woodcrest Heights Plat A and approving Woodcrest Heights Plat F located generally at 789 West, 630 South in the R8 zone. This is an administrative item and we will be the final determiner on this issue. Jason, would you like to begin the presentation?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Planning Commission, so 789 West is a vacant lot currently. There is a portion of the lot, let me pull up my highlighter. For some reason, my laser pointer is not working. So this line that you see, right? Oh, that's not working either. Anyway, to the left of the screen, there's a little section of property that they are going to combine. It's a discrepancy on the description, so they're just going to do a one-lot subdivision to fix that discrepancy. It's currently R8. There should be no issue with that, and then they will build a home. You can see the older plat that you can see on the corner there outlined in red. Those are two existing lots back when it was originally platted. The new plat will simply just plat that one lot to incorporate that little strip of property. This is what you see from the corner of the street. And staff recommends the Planning Commission approve this one lot subdivision. Any questions?
Any questions from the commission?
I just look on the map. It looks like that new line is like right on top of the other property.
It's a little skewed based on the picture, but there is, according to the engineer, I think it was 8 feet minimum that
8
they
feet?
have.
Okay.
Okay. Is the applicant present and would they like to say anything or good? If you want to speak, you have to come up to the mic.
Yeah, and unless you have any specific questions.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Would anyone like to make a motion on this? Oh, motion.
I make a motion that the Planning Commission make a positive recommendation
Approve. We're approving.
to vacate Lot 1 and a portion of Lot 2 of Woodcrest Heights Plat A and approve Woodcrest Heights Plat F, located generally at 789 West, 630 South in the R8 zone.
Second.
So we're moving to make it to it. Just totally.
To approve?
To approve, thank you. Wow. To approve this item.
That's right.
And you good? I don't think any discussion needed? No. Okay.
Aye.
I didn't even get to say it.
Oh, I can read your
It's
lips.
time to vote.
Or your mind.
Would you please? Yes, we got an aye. You?
Aye.
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 Haysom?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. It's been approved. Okay, item 3.2, plat amendment vacating Cascade Office Park condominium, Plat A amendment and improving the amended plat of Cascade Office Park condominiums, Plat A second amendment, located generally at 920 East, 800 North in the PD4 zone. This is also an administrative item and we will be the final approval on it.
So this item is a two office complex there next to the Harmon's grocery store on 8th North, 8th East, Canyon Parkway, I guess, sorry. It's currently part of the PD4 zone. It's currently divided in condominium units, so they're professional office condos. What the applicant is proposing is to come and make an amendment to building 1. Several years ago, you can see the one outlined in red. The current plat shows the upper level has 2 office units. What they're proposing is to change the 202 into 2. So there'll actually be 3 office units now on the second floor rather than just the 2. So that is the only change. The rest of it will stay the same. This is you can see that going back now to the 3 units. And that is the only change. It does require, because it's a plat amendment, to come before the Planning Commission. So they're here to request that approval. Any questions that I can address?
Any questions? Okay, thank you. And is the applicant here and do they wish to say anything?
I'm here. We don't have anything to add.
Okay. Unless there's any questions for the applicant? Which I don't appear there is. Should we move to motion then?
Shall I motion?
Yep.
So do I just approve?
Yeah.
So I motion that the Planning Commission approves vacating Cascade Office Park Plat A amended and approve the amended plat of Cascade Office Park Plat A second amendment, located generally at 920 East, 800 North in the PD4 zone.
I second that motion.
Okay. And Hella?
Aye.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Haysom?
Aye.
Motion passes. And that has been approved. Okay, item 3.3, this is a public hearing regarding amending Article 22-5-3A and the zoning map of the city of Orem by rezoning the property located generally at 519 South Geneva Road from the R20 zone to the C2 zone, and that's approximately 3.49 acres. This is legislative, and there will be a public hearing follow the presentation from city staff, and we will be making a recommendation to city council.
Yes, just want to clarify that the Planning Commission does make a recommendation. So this before us tonight is a request for the rezone. There's a concept that we'll show you tonight, but the actual site plan will come back at another time before the Planning Commission to grant approval for the site plan. This is simply to request the rezone. The portion, the 2 portions, so this parcel is broken into three lots. And I point out there's two parcels above this R20 portion that you can see on your screen that are currently zoned C2. That's a commercial zone. The R20, which if I go back to the aerial, was part of the vineyard gardens for many, many years as they've used that as their growing or staging of the plants that they had. So that has always been part of that development, even though it was under 2 different zones. What they're proposing is to come in and develop the property into a grocery store and some restaurants and a bank. And so to do that, it does need to be zoned to commercial. And so they're requesting the property be zoned to the same zone that's on the north of the property, which is C2. You can see the property to the south is an R5 residential zone. So there will be some standards as far as a 7-foot masonry wall and those things that will be required when the site plan comes in before the Planning Commission again. This is simply just the rezone portion of that request. This is the concept plan that they're proposing. You can see the grocery store on the south with the bank in the middle and the 2 convenience or fast food places on the north. There is one access on Geneva Road that would be basically widened and combined for that one access, which lines up across the street to the access across. That gives a little more depth from the access or the light at Fourth South to allow some queuing and different things and not be blocked by people entering and exiting this development. This is the proposed renderings or elevations that they're proposing. You can see the top picture is the grocery store, the middle is the bank, and then the bottom one is the fast food restaurants. Couple pictures from the site. You see looking from Fourth South into the property and then looking from Geneva Road east on the existing facility there. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission does forward a positive recommendation for the rezone. Be glad to address any questions.
Any questions from the Planning Commission for Jason? Jim, do you have a question?
Well, sort of, I suppose. So this has, I guess, been really in the works regarding the future plans for this property for some time. So this, I'm thinking that would be the case. I don't know if the applicants are here to address that.
We'll get to the applicants. Do you have anything specifically for Jason?
Do I have anything to ask Jason?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
this is
Okay.
pretty black and white.
Then we'll move on. The applicant's here, and do they want to come forward and say anything? Yeah, you can come up here too.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Holdway. I represent the family that owns this property and is working the rezoning motion and the approval of the concept plan that we have for the property. So if there are any questions from the Planning Commission, I'm more than happy to entertain them.
Okay. Any questions? Do you want to ask your question?
Well, I've shopped at your nursery there over the years, and
yes,
had to be your older brother that ran the place for some time, right?
Yeah. My father, Grant Holdway,
who was a
started
remarkable guy, I tell you.
He was an amazing man.
If
Yes.
you're half as good as he is, you're quite special, I would say.
I hope I can meet that standard.
No, I interacted with him on a number of occasions, and it was always a treat to be able to go to that business.
Yeah.
Because you knew that you'd be well taken care of. Your father always was so knowledgeable and so helpful. I guess this is progress then.
That's one way to put it, yeah. Just a continuation of hopefully his dream and our goals for that parcel.
I
of
guess that was
property.
my question. So this was kind of a dream of his at some point, that this
Well,
sort of a concept would materialize.
So I think my father's dream was for Vineyard and Orem to stay just the way they were
I'll bet
when
that's
he was
true.
growing up. Unfortunately, that ship has sailed quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, the property as it has been used under what Dad developed and grew into Vineyard Garden Center, he would be the first one to tell you that he worked like a dog 12 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, and a few hours on Sunday, and he made about 25 cents an hour doing that. So he did it at a labor of love and as a way to hopefully improve that little corner of his garden here in Utah Valley. As times move, times change, and people move on. We think that this proposal for the Vineyard Gardens Shopping Center will also be a welcome benefit for the people in that area. A little bit different from what Dad had with Garden Center and Pumpkin Land in the fall, but still a benefit and a blessing to those people who are living and working around there.
So it would seem that there's quite a need for these types of businesses in that locale.
Sure. And you know as well as anyone what the growth has been like down there in Vineyard. It's far removed from the Vineyard that I think many of us remember from years ago. But there is a need absolutely for something like this in that area for people in Vineyard, the residential area there just to the south, and the other developments that are moving in there. And we feel like a shopping center of this nature with a good grocery store, a financial institution, and a couple of places to get a bite to eat on the way home, or maybe after your kids have stomped the competition there at the soccer fields on the other side of the road there, bring them over for an ice cream to celebrate. So this is something that area is lacking as far as the shopping, the ability to get groceries and take care of basic errands like that. And putting it here in this location, we think is really a smart move for the community.
Do you have partners under consideration to?
Not at this time. We're still fairly early in
Okay.
this process, but we're trying to take it step by step and line by line, and let's get the rezoning hopefully done and the concept plan approved, and then we can move on to those next steps like what
Yes.
you're referring to.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Paula?
I just had a question. If a larger grocery store wanted to come in, I mean, would you be willing to give them more land, like more of a superstore? Seeing as you don't know who's coming in just yet.
True. We intentionally sized it this way to give us the option or the ability to have some of these other, the bank and the fast food restaurants. Right now, the grocery store is planned for about 65,000 square feet, which is kind of a Smith's, Harmon's, Kent's kind of size, not a Walmart or a Target kind of size. We intentionally went with a smaller footprint there. That's not to say we're completely cast in stone on that either. If the right people come and with the right kind of idea, we could certainly amend this, realizing, of course, that would require another trip here. But yeah, we are not totally 100% committed, but we feel like the layout that we've come up with is a good mix of establishments that would be popular and successful in this area.
So would you sort of court the grocery store first because they would be the larger? I don't
Yeah,
know how this
they
works.
would definitely be the anchor tenant there in that. So the grocery store finding the right people, the right company to come in and do that. And then the financial institution, whether that's a bank or a credit union in a 5,000 square foot footprint for them. And then the fast food restaurants, as we know, there are a wide variety of options out there for them. And we would be able to work with a wide variety there. But you're correct. The grocery store tenant is going to be the main draw, the main anchor.
I've just seen the grocery stores that are going in Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, and they would probably want more land than that.
Yep.
And so I wouldn't be opposed to, because the Vineyard doesn't have a single grocery store.
Correct.
So there would be quite a need.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
And C2 would allow for that. The zoning would, so. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then we're going to open it up for the public hearing. If you would like to come forward, we need you to come to the mic because that's the only way you'll be heard and recorded for our purposes. And limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name when you come up to the mic. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing for anyone who'd like to come forward.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Stevens. I live immediately south of the property. In general, I'm actually like this idea. It'd be nice to have a grocery store within walking distance. Some of my concerns involve things like noise and lighting and music playing from the store along those times. That said, compared to the current tenants, there's a pretty good chance that no matter what they do, it's going to be quieter. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. So, just wanted to make sure we don't have issues with, like music playing all day that we have to listen to, or an increasing crime, or really bright lights shining into our residential windows and so forth. So.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Rachel. I am a property owner right next to that zoning. And I travel this little corner here where you guys are going to have the box trucks and the diesels dropping off all their supplies to this little area. I love your little garden center. I love having a forest in my backyard. Brings lots of birds. We have a lot of birds in our neighborhood. We are a very community of young families. We have a lot that go to Vineyard Elementary and a lot that walk across that intersection to go to school. This would increase traffic, make it a little bit more dangerous for those kids to walk to elementary school. It would increase noise. It would make my commute to work atrocious because I turn that corner all the time. That is where I walk my dog. That is where I walk across the street to go to the Vineyard Sports Park to play in the park. I feel like if Vineyard needs a grocery store, the Vineyard's got the space for a grocery store. I don't see really a need for me and my community to have the traffic, the noise, the 7-foot wall, basically the demolishing of our life that we know right now that we have on that corner. To put it in perspective, I live on 535 South, 1500 West. So I am directly affected by this change. And I'm not seeing where being that close to my house is a benefit to my community, specifically with the young children and all the traffic that's involved in that. So I would really hope you guys would reconsider this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this will be the last call if anyone wants to come forward. All right, then we will close the public hearing. Thank you for those who participated. And then any follow-up questions for the applicant or for the city following that, or are we good to go to motion? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion for us to discuss? We don't. Someone?
Change the page.
Oh, yeah, can you put up the,
I'll make a motion that we the planning commission forward a positive recommendation to the city council to amend Article 22-5-3A and the zoning map of the city of Orem by rezoning the property located generally at 519 South Geneva Road from the R20 zone to the C2 zone, approximately 3.49 acres.
I'll second.
okay. So the motion is that we forward a positive recommendation to city council on this issue. Mike, you get to go first.
Oh, aye.
No, not voting.
Oh.
If there's any discussion that you want.
I don't have any discussion.
Jim, do you have anything that you want to discuss on this matter?
Well, it's a tough thing. So should this not be approved, I guess the question that I would pose, if I could ask that question, is what would become of the property? Would you just continue business as usual, or what?
If this was to not be approved and we were left with two parcels zoned C2 and the third zoned R20, then yeah, for the short term, we would continue leasing the property as it's being used right now while we go back and reconsider and take a look at some other options for the property.
Any further comments? Are you good?
I'm good, I think.
Okay. Helena? You're good? Jerry, would you like to say anything? Okay. Haysom, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that's sufficient.
Okay. Thank you. And then I'm good. understand that it will impact people around them. And I hope that we can find some way of dealing with, I think there is plans in the planning process and places that some discussion could be have about how to shield the neighbors to the south a little bit better. But it is a much needed thing in this area.
When it's on a high transit area, unfortunately, the way Geneva has shifted, it's.
Yeah. That is the one question I actually had was with the traffic study, was anything taken into account of children needing to cross the street? I know if I remember correctly, I don't know if Sam's familiar with it or not. But I remember when I looked through the traffic study, it did say eventually a light would go in where the cross street was, where it was coming in and out on Geneva. Is there any protection down on that south side? Oh, he is, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
John Dorney, City of Orem, Transportation Engineer. Yeah, the traffic study has, it does growth over time, 5 years and 10 years and 15 years out. And it looks like in the future, we're estimating that a signal may be needed. There's only one access. It's a property that's bound by Fourth and a railroad and the houses, so they can only have one access. We've negotiated with UDOT. UDOT wanted it closer to Fourth South, and we negotiated further south because we wanted separation from those two intersections in case it was signalized. And so there is a potential that it will be needed in the future as it develops. I don't know if that's good or bad. It provides a closer crossing to the neighborhood, east and west. And a secondary side note is we're working on Fourth South on a different project over by Lakeside and the Vineyard Elementary to improve that whole section of road. Talking to the school about safe routes to school routes. So we have looked at the traffic. We've negotiated with UDOT and the applicant, and we think we got the best location. And it does say we might need a signal.
Okay.
But not on day one.
And that's also good to know that they're doing more studies on how to properly get the kids safely to school.
Where would that traffic light be then? Would it be just right at the south corner of the property?
Right at their main entrance. The reason why I say possibility, one option is that UDOT restricts it and has a right in, right out someday. UDOT allowed the full access for now, and they recognize that it could be a signal or could be restricted, but it's not a demand that we're putting on the applicant now because it has to do with future growth of Geneva. If Geneva gets widened north of here and Lakeview, when that's built, we're not kind of sure how everything gets metered out. And so as more traffic goes through on Geneva, it might increase the demand for a signal, or it might just stay flat. So it's not a large enough issue where on opening day it's needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for him off of what I said? Okay. Right. Thank you.
Janelle, I'd like to just address the lady who came up. I'd like to speak. Can I?
Yes, you can, but you had your turn. So.
I know, sorry, I was just thinking about it. I don't ever want anyone to think that we don't hear you and that we don't listen, because we really do. And we are truly on the side of the citizen. But I think all of us sitting here feel like this is one of the better options compared to what you could get. So.
Okay, thank you. And then that goes back to you. Anything final you'd like to say before we go to vote?
I'll just reiterate what Helena said. I think this could potentially reduce traffic because you won't have people bypassing it constantly because there's a place to stop. As it is now, they have to keep going north or south to get where they're going. So I don't know. I agree, but I do understand where you're coming from. And hopefully ASD comes up with a good solution for the kids, because that's a pretty busy road to make kids cross.
It is. Okay.
And I think it's a challenge right now to get kids across that road. It has to be. I can see the need for the services that are provided. There are certainly alternate locations to provide the same services. I know of the family and of their reputation as being just so community-minded and so very helpful. And that weighs in my decision. I think they've worked from what I've been told, very congenially with the city in trying to meet the requirements that the city has. And so I think that certainly to their credit, just their reputation, established over many years of being community-minded.
Okay. We're ready to move for vote? Jim?
Aye.
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 Haysom?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes and we will forward a positive recommendation to City Council for rezoning the property to C2. Thank you. Meeting minutes, item 4.1, review of the meeting minutes from January 17th, 2024. It looked fine to me, so.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Okay. Helena?
Aye.
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 Haysom?
Aye.
The meeting minutes are approved. Ryan, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple things. First off, appreciate Rachel coming out, and she talked a little bit about Lakeside Sports Parks. So I thought I'd add a little information just to update the Planning Commission on. The majority of that park's actually located in Orem. It is an Orem park and we maintain it. A portion of the western end is in Vineyard, but we have a joint agreement with them to allow us to have the park be over 50 acres. Over the last year, our engineering team, working with our parks team and public works, have put in artificial turf fields on the infields, and now we're able to use that park on the weekends and during rain, like we're having now, and it's going to be phenomenal. And currently, they're in the process of putting in 2 artificial turf soccer fields with lighting, and that park will get a lot of usage. It's going to be a great resource for the community and bring in a lot of tournaments and revenue to our businesses in Orem, including future businesses that may be located in this area that Mr. Holdaway might be pleased to hear that. Also, I wanted to let you know that Sam Kelly, our city engineer, who I've worked with for 22 years, is moving on and leaving us for a bigger opportunity. And we're going to miss him. He's going to American Fork City to be their public works director. And that will now make 2 of our former engineering employees public works directors in other cities.
Isn't that a step down, actually?
Well, it is because it's not long.
Step up in responsibility though for him, and he's going to do a great job there, and we're going to really miss him. So we'll be working on a process to get a new city engineer here shortly, and we'll keep you in tune on that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to Sam. We really have appreciated your insight and knowledge and professionalism as we've worked through issues with you. And we will miss you, but that is a great opportunity for you. And you'll be fabulous.
I'll second that.
I make the motion, we highly commend Sam for his extraordinary capabilities and dedication to the city of Orem.
Agreed. Amen. Second, I guess we're seconding on this one. Okay, we will.
I make a motion, we end our meeting.
I get to say that?
You didn't
That's
say
my
it.
job.
Oh,
That's what I was
okay.
about to say.
Okay, you're too slow in saying it.
Because you keep talking.
Okay.
Okay. So since there's no further business, I move that we adjourn.
I second.
I second it.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Hazel?
Aye.
Okay. The meeting is adjourned.
Done.
I'm pretty sure that was like something that's.